Hey y'all, it's July the 15th, 2017, and dude, I'm diving into some research, alright? I gotta get some other stuff done, but the thing is, been diving into that research as far as getting to the bottom of the nitty gritty of the problems revolving around the Catholic Church. I came across this particular website and I left the link below. Right, it's Patheos.com. Alright, I think it's pretty objective. It's a pretty objective look. It kind of dives into the kind of disgusting behavior that we've been seeing from the Catholic Church. Now, it's pretty objective. It's from a very atheist standpoint, a progressive, secular, humanist standpoint, or whatever that might be. And of course, I've been looking through its main articles and stuff, its headlines, and I don't exactly agree with a lot of its stances. However, it does appear to me to be quite objective in its agenda and stuff like that, and I can appreciate that. Alright, if you go through, you're going to find a lot of reasons, in case if you didn't already have enough reasons. You're going to find a lot of reasons to hate the Catholic Church, to despise it, to be absolutely disgusted by it. And of course, you already know that there's been many people, many respectable people throughout recent history who also were absolutely disgusted by the Catholic Church. I'll give you a couple examples. Like number one of the stories on this here website, if you look through the main articles, one of the stories is going to be about a girl, and this is actually pretty recently, a teenager in El Salvador, which is somewhat ran by the Catholic Church, if you will, basically. And in El Salvador, this young girl, teenage girl, she just got sentenced to 30 years in prison. 30 years, alright? And the reason is because the Catholic Church runs El Salvador in a largely savage, barbarian way. A lot of people know that certain explosion of gang activity comes out of El Salvador. Might have a lot to do with their extreme poverty. Might have a lot to do with the Catholic Church, to be honest with you. Alright, this young teenage girl, she was just sentenced to 30 years in prison. Why? Well, she accidentally had an abortion. On accident, basically. She had what's known as a stillbirth. And what she needed to emphasize is she's, not exactly nourished correctly, obviously. In El Salvador, you're going to find a lot of malnourished people. Alright? She didn't know she was pregnant. This teenage girl. She went to the bathroom and found out, and she had to go to the hospital, obviously, because that's a serious situation. She got to the hospital, and they said, guess what? You're going to have to go to jail now. Alright, and eventually they figured out, you know what, she's going to have to go to jail for 30 years. Alright, imagine that. Now, not only that, you'll be surprised to find out that this teenage girl in high school had been raped several times over by a local gang member, a very violent gang member, and you gotta forgive me if I believe her. Alright? Raped by a very local violent gang member, and she didn't know she was pregnant at all. She obviously has to live in fear. That's what her life is like. Alright? So, dealing with all of that, on top of that, now she goes to prison for 30 years. You can thank the Catholic Church for that. Alright? Sincerely, you can thank the Catholic Church for all that. And let me just go ahead and draw your attention to another article that this here website had. And this article is about a man by the name of Dennis Robert Hall. Apparently, real recently, Dennis Robert Hall, he decided that he would be running for a seat on the Saskatoon Catholic School Board in Canada. Alright? That seems harmless enough. Thing is about Dennis Robert Hall is he pleaded guilty, you guys. He pleaded guilty in 1981 to 2 charges. And when you look at him and how old he is, he obviously was not that young in 1981. He pleaded guilty in 1981 to 2 charges of having intercourse with girls aged 14 and 16, as well as 2 counts of indecent assault. Guess what? Dennis Robert Hall, the guy who was trying to run for Catholic School Board pretty recently, he served 18 months in prison. Thank you, Catholic Church. You can thank them about that. 18 months in prison. He pled guilty in 1981. He shouldn't have had nothing to do with anybody's church. And meanwhile, man, they're just going to go ahead. I'm not going to look into how that ended. This was in October, this article was written. I don't even want to know, alright? How a convicted who pled guilty man by the name of Dennis Robert Hall serves 18 months and then is somehow allowed to run for the Catholic School Board is beyond me. But then again, you know what I'm saying? The Catholic Church seems to have a lot of problems on their hands. A lot of problems. Like I said, go ahead and visit that website. It's very objective. I don't agree with a lot of what it says, but it's very interesting. It's a very objective perspective, and I appreciate it for that. By the way, you know, you kind of find out that a lot of people, especially in the Vatican and abroad and stuff, they're looking at United States of America Catholics a different kind of way right now. You know what I'm saying? They're looking at United States of American type Catholics as something of an enemy to them, right? And it's a civil war absolutely taking place in the Catholic Church. It is a tribulation, it's a divide, you guys. Anyways, I'll holler at y'all. It's July the 15th, 2017.